Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
When we think about artificial intelligence, we think about a clever computer program designed for humanity's demise. That's the case in Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. What about complete world domination with Skynet in James Cameron's The Terminator? Or even beings of love and compassion, such as Samantha in Spike Jonze's Her. These are all examples of science fiction. But what if I told you artificial intelligence is already here? It's serving us our next binge-worthy flick. It's already defeating world champions at board games. And it's answering all our voice requests under the sun. Alexa, what is artificial intelligence?
Why do potatoes make good detectives? They keep their eyes peeled.
Kia ora, my name is Siobhan. I'm an optometrist working in Aotearoa, New Zealand. In this video, I'm going to share with you my favourite topic in optometry at the moment, and that is artificial intelligence and its possible impact on the eye care world. In this video, we're going to be discussing what is artificial intelligence, how effective is AI or artificial intelligence, the challenges of implementing AI, and the really important question, will optometrists be replaced? So let's jump in with our first point. What is artificial intelligence or AI? To understand AI, we need to understand the power of computers. So let's look at one example where we have to calculate minimum blank size. Minimum blank size is the minimum size of a lens that has to be in order to fit them into a particular frame. So to calculate a minimum blank size of one frame is quite trivial and easy. But imagine if you have hundreds or thousands of frames to calculate. This can be quite tedious to do by hand, and what we could do is we could offload this task to a computer to calculate, where it will do it in mere seconds and it'll do it accurately. So that's really cool. That's one example. What about another example like diabetes? With diabetes, that's where an individual has uncontrolled blood sugar levels. This can cause a number of problems throughout the whole body. But one example is it can result in eye blindness if it goes untreated. So in New Zealand and in many other countries, we have a diabetic screening service. So a diabetic is put on a screening service. They have photos taken at the back of the eye every 2 years. These images are graded by a human being who is specialized in detecting severity of diabetic eye disease. For example, I'll show you a photo that doesn't have any diabetic eye disease, like mine. And if someone who's diabetic and they don't have any signs of diabetic eye disease, they have photos taken approximately every 2 years. In the case of someone who has more severe form of diabetic eye disease, this individual has treatment undertaken, or they are seen more routinely. And like I was saying before, diabetic eye disease goes untreated, this can result in blindness. So that's the importance of having the screening program. In New Zealand, we have 250,000 diabetics. So you can imagine having these photos done every 2 years. That's quite a lot of images to grade. And district health boards are actually reporting losses as well, financial losses. So it's not easy just to hire more staff. And another problem is in the next 20 years, the number of diabetics is set to double. Just like the case in minimum blank size, could we offload this task of grading diabetic retinal images to a computer? Now, it's very difficult to program a computer to look at images. When we look at an image, there's a lot of subconscious processes going on in our brain. So that means we can't use the traditional method of programming computers to grade diabetic retinal images. Instead, we're going to use a concept called machine learning, more specific, deep learning. Machine learning is basically when we give the computer some data to look at, it finds patterns in that data, it learns from that data. And one type of deep learning framework that's used is what's known as a convolutional neural network. Here's a little graphic to sort of explain how a neural network works. You have three main layers. You've got the input layer, and what happens in the input layer, that takes the image pixel by pixel and it's fed into the input layer. And it goes, and these input layers act as inputs to the next layers, such as the intermediate layers. And in the early stages of the intermediate layer, some neurons will fire for particular things in the image, like an edge or what's not an edge. Later on, as we progress down, what it can look at in the image gets a bit more complicated. So for example, it can look for bleeding, which is characteristic of diabetic eye disease, or no bleeding. And the output layer can give us our grade or severity of diabetic eye disease for that image. Now the neural network is able to work in this way because it's been trained on previously labeled data. So for example, retinal images that have already been graded. Now, a question has to be asked, how effective is artificial intelligence in detecting diabetic eye disease? There have been numerous papers on this, and it's found that an artificial intelligence model can work at the same level, even better, than the best retinal graders. And the bonus of a computer is that it doesn't get tired, get distracted, or have a bad day. Sounds quite promising, doesn't it? I mean, if artificial intelligence works better than humans would, why hasn't it been implemented yet? Comment about Australia and New Zealand. I'm pretty sure there's many others in the world. In New Zealand, we have a company called Toku Eyes, which is implementing this throughout the health boards in New Zealand. I'd love to work with you guys. Also, Eye Intelligence over in Australia. Now, a major barrier to implementing artificial intelligence in health is that when you introduce a product, there's always the unintended consequence of causing harm. Health is inherently a conservative system, so they're not going to take a progressive approach and implement it quickly. It has to be strictly and stringently tested. This is why we have the FDA in America and we have TGA in Australia to vet these products and make sure that they're really safe to use. Another problem is with bias. When you have an artificial intelligence model, we have to train that model. So, for example, if we trained it on European eyes, it wouldn't be a representative of the New Zealand population because we have Māori, Pacifica, and Asian eyes as well. Another problem too is artificial intelligence is a black box. The neural network itself composes of hundreds of thousands of layers. The one example I showed before is a very simplified example. So it's very, very difficult to look at an artificial intelligence model and see how it came up to its conclusion. And with this black box phenomena, you can get what's known as phantom correlation. So currently in our health data, Pacifica have higher incidence of diabetic eye disease. When we train the AI model, instead of looking for signs of diabetes, it just looks for a retinal image that looks like a Pacific Islanders retinal image, and then grades it higher with more severity of diabetes. Another problem is with ethics. This is health data, which is really sensitive data. If that health data got into the wrong hands, for example, an insurance company, this could be used to enhance their models. For example, this individual has diabetes, therefore their premium will go up. Now, it's very important to have teams that have collaboration in mind. This is where you have multiple ethnicities working in one group. If we have a diverse teams can think in different ways. That produces products which can help a lot of people as a whole. Finally, will optometrists be replaced by AI? Let's go for any job. There's always a threat of losing a job due to outsourcing and now automation with artificial intelligence. But I don't think AI is aimed to replace optometry. In the cases we've used before, it's there to fill the demand. With diabetes, there's just too many diabetic photos to be graded. So in this case, AI is filling that gap of demand. I read this really good book called Deep Medicine by Eric Topol. Now, all that diagnostic work can be handled by artificial intelligence, and that allows a practitioner or optometrist to connect better with their patients. I'm going to quote Eric Topol as the human touch. So what do you guys think? Is HAL 9000 locking optometrists out of the eye clinic? Is Skynet taking over the eye industry, or are patients falling in love with Samantha? AI has the potential to be the cure of an overburdened healthcare system. We can see AI can perform better than even the best experts. Now, artificial intelligence is a powerful tool, so it's really important to use strong ethics in mind. It's very unlikely optometrists will be replaced, but it will change the way in how we practice. The idea is AI will take most of the grunt work away, allowing optometrists and practitioners to connect better with the patient. Finally, a special thanks to NZ Optics, who allowed me to feature this topic in their magazine. What I'll do is, when it comes out in an electronic format, I'll link it in the description below. Thank you for getting this far in the video. I know some of the topics weren't as fun, but I hope it's been eye-opening for you. AI has an exciting future, and I'm hoping you're able to see why it's my favorite topic in optometry. What are your thoughts on artificial intelligence in eye care? Is it something that excites you, or is it something that scares you? Please comment below, and if you're interested in more content like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching, and talk soon.
Take it for me.
It's called Daisy. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer too.